Jam Session is a podcast where two guys who grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth discuss sports, craft beer, life, and their experiences living in one of America's most vibrant cities. If you love sports, you're going to love this show. If you love craft beer or you're curious about it, you'll love this show. Great conversations with good friends is what Jam Session is all about.
Welcome. It's nice to have you here. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
You're listening to the Jam Session Podcast.
I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume.
With Cowboys insider...
What's your name?
Jean-Jacques Taylor.
That's my name.
Radio personality and craft beer expert, Matt McLaren.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing.
And now, the Jam Session Podcast. It is indeed Jam Session. Subscribe, rate, and review, and hang out with us for a while. Right here. The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, the radio, TV, and now podcast star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor.
What up, dog?
It's me, the non-sexy one, Matt McLaren. And this is Jam Session, the podcast version 23, asking simply that you prepare to be dazzled,
if not entertained.
And before we get into what was certainly dazzling and entertaining tonight with the Dallas Cowboys, as always, we like to start you off by telling you about some of our sponsors. And of course, one of our newest sponsors, HFX Foundation Solutions, a full-service foundation repair company. They take care of all of DFW, so wherever you're listening to this, really in the North Texas area, they can help you out. They specialize in slab and pier and beam foundation repair, as well as drainage and gutter installations. And they work with realtors, structural engineers, and of course, homeowners, obviously. And they'll create that repair plan for your property that is affordable, reliable, and warranted. They are A-rated with the Better Business Bureau, so check them out online at hfxfoundation.com, or you can give them a call at the office, 817-770-0174, because as we know, living in Texas, foundation is not something you want to screw with.
Oh, no. Trust me. The lovely Lorraine's a realtor. Every house she sells, hey, it's all about the foundation and whether it's good to go.
It is, man. So give those guys a call, and they'll get you taken care of at HFX Foundation Solutions. Also, Freeway Tire Shop. Freeway Tire Shop right there off of 35. Real easy to get to in Dallas. And as Jacques can tell you, man, these guys will take care of you, whether you need an inspection, an oil change, whatever it is, because you just took your car over there, had some work done.
Dude, rolled right up. Didn't tell him the celebrity JJT was in the house. Rolled up. Got my oil changed. I'm serious now. In and out, literally in 20 minutes.
Wow.
And here's the best thing. And again, I'm just telling you my experience. Synthetic oil. That's normally very expensive, but it lasts a little longer than regular oil. $35. Let me tell y'all something. I promise you, it's the cheapest I've ever gotten a synthetic oil change.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's actually really unbelievable. I mean,
no,
you
I'm
talk
telling
about
you the truth.
Competitive pricing. Look, JR, good dude, big fans of what we do here on Jam Session. They will get you taken care of. You can swing by their website at freewaytireshop.com. You can schedule an appointment there, request a quote. That's freewaytireshop.com. But let's get into this Cowboys game, man, because they won. The Dallas Cowboys have won a football game.
43 days. The drought is over. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
Unbelievable to see a game in which pretty much everybody thought that Dallas would lose to the Minnesota Vikings. You and I both picked the Vikings to win by a couple of touchdowns. That not the case, as the Dallas Cowboys tonight, and of course we are recording this on Sunday night right after the game ended, Dallas is a 31-28 winner over the Vikings. Minnesota had won 4 straight. And you could see it, man. Dallas came out in the first half. The offense was moving the ball, getting some touchdowns. The defense, Donovan Wilson, hello. Glad to see the coaches decided to put a playmaker in the lineup. And they got some takeaways. The offense finally early in this game takes advantage of a takeaway and gets a touchdown. But all in all, it's weird because you're sitting there and you look at this, man. And I know a lot of people on Twitter. And by the way, you can find us on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. I hear from two crowds. One, Mel, what about the pick? Where do we sit now? How far down did we drop? And 2, I don't know, man. What if we get some momentum? This could be a crazy year.
Well, I found that I put out a Twitter poll because I was, I tell y'all all the time, I don't have an emotional investment in it. So to me, it's always very interesting in a circumstance, in a situation like this, to see how the people are going. And I put out a tweet, and I go, at this moment, are you rooting for the Cowboys to win or the draft choice? And I think that's when they went up 24-21. And, dude, I got 500 votes, and it was 54% for the draft choice, 46% for the win. But I know people were conflicted, man, conflicted.
Yeah, and it is one of those things when you're watching the game that it's really difficult, I feel like, in the middle of the game while they have a chance to win. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there are some Cowboys fans out there that are screaming at the TV, throw a pick, don't score. But I'm sitting there like, come on, all right, here it is. Let's get this done. And you just, I can't in the middle, like when it's actually happening, I can't actively root against the team. I just can't do that.
Well, check it out. I'll give you a few of the people who commented, because I think they ran the gamut. And it was very interesting. Madrill Smith goes, I'll take that top 5 pick over backing into the playoffs and being choked out by Debo in the first round. Then there's Lisa Williams. Maybe she's like you, Matt. Win, then lose the rest. Although she's got a personal thing at stake because her friend's a diehard Vikings fan and she don't want to hear his mouth. Patrick France goes top pick. But I think Richard Duncan summed it up, man. I voted draft pick, but I'm lying because I always want them to win. Just this year, not as upset now when they lose. So, I think that's kind of it. People are conflicted whether you want the feel good from a win today or whether you want the long-term benefit of a draft pick because the NFL sells hope better than any other league in America.
Yeah, which is very true. And that's where this Cowboys team, because you and I, right before we came on to record this, we were talking about this. Yes, if you can get a top 3 draft pick, that's really awesome. But they do have a chance to win the division because Philadelphia lost today. The Giants, I believe, are on their bye today, and then Washington won. So all 4 teams in the NFC East have 3 wins, which now, obviously, Philadelphia has the 1 tie, so they're 3-6-1 and technically lead the division. You have to play all 3 of these teams again. Based on everything we've seen from the NFC East this year, I would not be surprised if the Cowboys win 3 games against Washington, Philadelphia, and the Giants, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lost all 3 of them.
Okay, well, I was going to say, for a minute you had me. But yeah, when you say it like that, yes. And oh, what a showdown we have now on Thanksgiving Day. Couple of 3-7 teams battling out, perhaps for first place, at least for a few days in the NFC East. I think, this is going to be, I was trying to figure out, because I had the Vikings winning 34-17. And if you look at the score and how the game played out, I would submit to y'all that at one level I was pretty on point. But I'm very honest when I say this all the time. And it's not just a line, although it's a good line. It's not just a line. It's not my job to have hope, faith, and optimism that things will turn around. Like an offense that scored 2 touchdowns and 47 possessions in 5 games. You know what I'm saying? It's not my job to sit there and go, oh, yeah, right, they'll work it out. They'll figure it out. They'll be better this week. But they were better in part. Now, I don't know, Matt. You tell me. Do you get credit for benching Terrence Steele, or do you get cussed out for saying, y'all know he been trash as a player, not as a person, as a player, for the last month and a half since the season started? I don't know why y'all kept him in there in the first place. He has been trash.
Yeah, and that's one of those things as well, because when McCarthy was asked about it 2-3 weeks back, whenever that was, his answer was literally like, well, we don't mess with that fantasy football stuff, pushing Zach Martin out there. And then he goes along and does it anyway. And it makes you realize that, like, all of us sat here and wondered, why don't you just move Zach Martin to right tackle? He's obviously your best option out there. And Mike McCarthy kind of shot it down like we were the idiots.
Well, here's a question. I went about explaining this on Twitter, or I think I did. Maybe I didn't. But here's the deal, man. This is the only decision you had to make. Once it became clear that he's a terrible player. Now, it's not his fault he's a terrible player. He was an undrafted rookie free agent. He's really not even supposed to be playing this year. Injury and circumstance thrust him into a position that he wasn't ready for. Now, I often give Pro Football Focus grades the side eye.
Sure.
But they are a gauge and a tool that you can use to compare to other players, because at least they grade all the players on their own system, even if I think their grades are sometimes kind of, whatever. But at least if they have a guy number 1, then that's what they have him as, number 1. If they got a guy number 20, then he's number 20 in their rankings. They have Terrence Steele rated as the 78th tackle out of 78 tackles. So you could take that for whatever it's worth. But here's the deal, man. And just do the math like this, Matt. If you take an awful player, now let's try to do it like this. If you take a terrible player and you replace him with Zach Martin, who's not going to be great at tackle, but let's say he's good at tackle, not great but good, then you've replaced a terrible tackle with a good tackle. Now, let's talk about Connor McGovern. You've replaced a great guard with an average guard. You don't have to be Einstein or some great mathematician, a beautiful mind, to figure out that it's better to have an average player and a good player than a great player and a terrible player.
Which we saw today. And,
yes,
when you look at this thing overall, the Cowboys had to get a win. Mike McCarthy's been talking about that. We just got to get a win. And they get one against a decent Vikings team. Are they good? I don't know. Maybe they're average. Their record would tell you that they're 4-6, I believe, now after losing that game. And it's going to be interesting. It really is, because to your point, Washington is 3-7 coming off a win. The Cowboys are 3-7 coming off a win. If Dallas can beat Washington, they've got back-to-back wins. And look, I know it's a pipe dream, and I know that I seem insane for saying this, but
yes,
right after you play Washington, if you beat them, you get to go on the road to Baltimore. Now, we all thought earlier in the year there's no way you beat Baltimore. Well, Baltimore's lost 2 in a row and plays Pittsburgh in their next game. Chances are they lose 3 in a row. They could be hosting the Cowboys coming in on a 3-game losing streak as a 6-5 team. I'm just saying, in San Francisco's 4-6. They're not good. Cincinnati lost Joe Burrow for the year today. They're 2-7-1. They're not any good. You can look at this schedule, and I still have a hard time getting past the Baltimore game, but you can look at this schedule and make an educated sample that just as easily as they could go 1-5, they could go 5-1 and somehow stun everybody and get 7-9 into the playoffs.
I'm not really ready to go there. I'm just not ready to go there. I'd like to see consecutive wins before I rattle off 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 6. I'd just like to see consecutive wins. And no, I don't think they're going to beat Baltimore. Baltimore's been losing to some of the best teams in the league. But that being said, Baltimore plays a style that keeps you close if you can handle it. And
they lost to the Patriots, and the Patriots are not any good.
And if you, I'm ignoring you right now. And if you stay close, then there's a chance you can win at the end. But I think the thing about today that you should like, if you're a Cowboys fan, and Mike McCarthy, man, he can, I'd be interested to see what he says after the game about this. Is that taking Terrence? I'm not saying Terrence Steele was the entire problem with the offense, but I'm telling you, he was a big-ass part of the problem. I mean, he was more than half a part of the problem. If you take him out, and now your 5 is your 5, because, Cam Irving is not really all that good. Connor Williams is average. Joe Looney is average player, maybe slightly above. Connor McGovern's an average player. You can live with average, man. You just can't live with bad and terrible. And so what I'm saying is, if the Cowboys offense, and they scored 31 points today, if they can get back to the point where they're scoring mid-20s, now you have a chance. You got no chance when you can't score but 10 points a game, bro. I mean, you just have no chance. Mm-hmm. Now, if they can score, I'm not saying they're going to score 31 every week, but if you can score 24 points a game, you give yourself a chance to win. Look what happened, man. They stayed in the game, and oh my God, Zeke got 21 carries. He got 100 yards. He ran the ball in the fourth quarter. It's amazing what happens when you're not down by 20-something points in the first half, what you can do.
Yes, that's very true. And we'll see for those of you that just don't care at all and want the draft pick more than anything ever. This win today over the Vikings obviously puts the Cowboys, they had been in the 3rd position. They are now in the 5th position. They are behind the Jets, the Jags, the Bengals, and of course they have beaten Atlanta. So Atlanta at 3-7 owns the tiebreaker over Dallas, and then Dallas is slotted in there with Washington, Houston, a bunch of 3-win teams that, of course, some of those teams had beaten Dallas already. But that's where they sit right now. As we continue with you here on the podcast, the Cowboys with the improbable of wins, 31-28 over the Vikings. And again, want to tell you about one of our sponsors as we continue, because these guys are what make this happen and keep it possible for us. So please support them. Maybe you're looking for a car and maybe you want to splurge. Well, I'll tell you this. Our buddies over there at the Blue Star Motor Group, they can take care of you. They specialize in superior quality, Carfax certified, pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models. And when I say all makes and models, I'm talking about stuff like this, a 2020 Range Rover Supercharged Sport Autobiography. Its MSRP brand new is $111,000, 518 horsepower, dual 10-inch rear screens for the kids. It only has had one owner that's Carfax certified, 11,000 miles. Blue Star Motor Group has this thing for $94,991.
Dude, that's you know what? I'm being real now. This is basically a brand new ride. And the cars I have, and Matt will tell you, I've got a lot of them. I've got 5, but don't judge me. They're all paid for. I've had some luxury cars like that, whether it's a Mercedes or the 2-seater Cadillac or the Jaguar that I've got now. Dude, I've bought them just like that. About 10,000 miles on them, where you're not paying that big-time sticker price. You're getting the deal. And that's what's good about this deal that they're offering with the Range Rover. And can I tell you something else, Matt, that you didn't know? Or maybe you did know. Hey, you guys, this is just between us. Now, Blue Star probably doesn't even want me telling you this. The best time to buy a car is the last week of the month, baby.
Well, there you go. And we're heading into the last week of the month.
That's why I'm telling you.
So do it. Yeah, this car is badass. I checked it out online, and you can do the same at bluestarmotorgroup.com. They're big fans of Jam Session, big supporters of us, so please hit them up for all your car needs. If you're looking to sell, if you're looking to buy, whatever it is, call Deb, 817-881-4066, or, of course, check out their inventory and prices online at bluestarmotorgroup.com. You know, it's interesting with this Cowboys game because you kind of brought up what I think was very obvious in helping the Cowboys, and that was the play to move Zach Martin to right tackle and bring in Connor McGovern and tell Terrence Steele, finally what we had all seen all season. You're not good. You can't play at this level right now. Maybe one day you'll be better. Right. Maybe one day you can be average, but right now you're not. And when they made that move, to your point, you kind of went through it. Zeke had his first 100-yard rushing game of the season today. And let's keep in mind, now look, if you want to say the Minnesota Vikings dude, I forgot who it was, maybe it was Chris Jones, should have made the tackle on the Pollard run, that's cool. Guess what side they ran to? The right side. And Tony Pollard broke off a 42-yard touchdown run like he was shot out of a cannon.
Well, that's what you're looking for, man. This team was built to run the ball. It's part of what they do. It's how they want to play. And they just haven't been able to do it with any consistency, at least certainly not since the first 2 games of the year. And some of that's because they played so much from behind. But Zeke Elliott he was running good early, even though he wasn't having a bunch of yards. But I mean, you could tell he was just kind of in a rhythm. And then, dude, he kept banging and banging and banging. And then what happened in the fourth quarter? They started getting bigger yards, bigger chunks. And I thought, to me, we may look back, man, and one of the key drives of the season, and maybe we'll get into it deeper later on, is they're down 21-16. It's the perfect time to panic. It's the perfect time to say, oh, damn, we're going to lose. Here we go again. We got to get these points back. Let's throw the ball with Dalton. And Kellen Moore came out and said, nah, man, we finna dominate the line of scrimmage. We finna run this thing. Can you stop it? And I think they went 6 plays, and that's and the drive ended with Pollard's 42-yard run right around, right in. But it was Zeke who softened him up. I think he had an 18-yard run during that stretch. Did. And it was that physicality right there that said, yo, we ain't going nowhere. Here we are. Stand up. Take notice of us. We're not getting punked today. That, to me, if you look back, whatever they do, That to me thus far has been the drive of the season, because I think I put on Twitter when they started the drive, like, here we go, the game right here, because they hadn't stopped the Vikings, man. And the way the game was going, if you go 3 and out or 4 and out and give them the ball back, they're going to come down there and score, man, and make it 28-16, and it's a ball game.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And then to your point with Zeke, it was a 15-yard run on that drive. It was he went for 15, then he got 6, and then right after that is when Pollard had the 42-yard run. But Zeke in this game, as I just mentioned, had a 15-yard run. He had an 18-yard run on another drive. The Cowboys as a team combined 31 carries for 180 yards rushing. That is by far a season high. Their previous season high, and this is why, things are trending up. They didn't beat the Steelers. They probably should have, but they didn't. But their previous season high for rushing yards in a game happened 2 weeks ago against the Steelers when they had 144 yards rushing. Before that, it was back in the season opener against the Rams when they had 136. So 180 as a team today. Zeke, 21 for 103. And you could just see, Zeke, I still feel like, and we had that conversation about what they're going to do with him in the future. Is he the back that can run, at least give him an average offensive line, which I feel like they did today. And if you at least give him not trash on the offensive line and you at least give him an opportunity, I think Zeke is reminding everybody he can still carry the rock. He had 5 yards of carry today, couple of 10-plus yard runs, converted some hard runs, had some hard-fought runs on 3rd and 1 and short that he was able to convert and pick up those things that he does. And he was on display today. And then, of course, you bring in the Pollard compliment, and it worked for a damn fine running game today.
No, man, 180 yards. More importantly, I think it was more than 5 yards of carry. And I thought this was interesting, man. Mike McCarthy told CBS before the game that, hey, or Fox before the game that, hey, we need to run the ball 30 times today. And I wrote that down before the game. Like, oh, McCarthy said we need to run the ball 30 times. They ran it 31 and they won. And before they made that last drive in the fourth quarter, they were down to, I think, 27 carries. And I was like, well, damn. If they had gotten just a few more, they would have won the game. Mm-hmm. And it's not that 30 carries equals winning. 30 carries means you're in the game so that you can run the ball 30 times. It means that you're having enough success that you can run the ball 30 times. And it means that you're controlling the line of scrimmage. And it doesn't matter that, CeeDee Lamb got a couple. It's, those were, it's however you put your running game together. But they did it. It worked. And it's good to see Zeke back. And now you can see, like, okay, where can it go from here? Because it seems now like they've, what is it? Pollard only carried five times for 5 for 60. But it seems like they figured out that he's got a little bit of a role.
Right.
He's getting he's getting a few carries a game, he's getting a few touches. And I always like to get him the ball, man, because of just what you saw today. He's a very explosive dude, and if you sleep on him for a play, he could take it to the house. And that's what he did today. And again, he's got 3 runs of 20 yards or more, and he don't have but about 60 carries this year.
Yeah, and to me, this was just another sign. Again, that close loss to the Steelers where a couple of boneheaded plays late in the fourth quarter, some boneheaded penalties, and maybe it's a different story, but that isn't what happened. And then I thought when Cam Irving had that false start late in the game, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is it. They're going to bonehead their way out of this one, and they didn't. They're able to get the win. And I don't know. We'll see. The Pittsburgh game was weird to me because everybody said, oh, they played, and they did. They played better. And I thought, well, I need to see it again. Like show me that you're going to consistently do this before I start to buy in that this wasn't just a 1-week fluke. And then they went out and did it again today against the Vikings for the most part, and they pick up the win. And so now you look at it and you say, okay, can you do it again against Washington on Thursday? Because what we saw today, if this team can play like this, with the run game, with Dalton being manageable enough to not lose the game, with the defense making some stops when they had to, getting some more takeaways, this overall I thought was a pretty solid game. Not a great game by any means, but a solid game from a team that's trying to get back on track.
Yeah, and when you look at the schedule, if they can play like this, it gives them a chance to win. Like, they gave themselves very little chance to win in the first 3 or 4 games after Dak went out.
Right.
But now, if you can play like this, and to me, it was all predicated on the offensive line. Like, why did when I predicted Washington would smoke them, and Washington smoked them. That was all based on how the hell are they going to move the ball with this patchwork offensive line they got up here? And that was when Zach Martin only lasted one play or one series before he got hurt. Well, now if you can have Zach Martin for an entire game and you can just be adequate up front, then you can, and not turn the ball over and give Washington's raggedy offense free points, then you can be in the game late and have an opportunity to win it. Especially with what? I mean, where they have a packed house of 40,000 this week?
Oh, yeah, they probably will. Why not?
That's insane, but that's another story.
It is interesting because to see a stadium like obviously playing in Minnesota tonight, and you see it, and it was just dead empty. I mean, there's nobody. They allow 0 fans. Like no percentage, not 100 people, whatever. Everybody's on the field, and then out of that, there's nobody in the stands. And I had that thought as well. I was like, man, this is going to be wild. You play in front of absolutely nobody whatsoever. The last game you played against Pittsburgh, I think they set the record at 31,000 for a COVID record, or is what Jerry called it, or whatever he said.
Right.
And now, to your point, Thanksgiving Day, I guarantee you that they'll have, I would not be surprised if it's 40,000 plus on Thursday. While Dallas County is shattering records for positive cases, which will be interesting. But hey, if that's your thing and you want to get out and go, then get out and go. Whatever. I don't care. I just think it'll be interesting to see. And I do think something like that might be a slight advantage for the Cowboys. But to your point, Jacques, they had to figure out how to close out games because they had a chance. They could have beaten the Steelers, and they didn't. And I thought we were going to be talking about the same things today, that, you know what, they could have beaten Minnesota. They had their chances, and they didn't. And I was wrong. They were able to come back and close out this game when they had their opportunity right at the end. The defense needed to they hadn't stopped the Vikings at all in the second half. You had to have a stop. They got you one. And then the offense, it's like they looked at the offense and said, all right, we finally got to stop, go out and do something. And then the offense went right down the field and was able to get a touchdown and win the game.
No, it was. It was well done, and they showed a lot of patience during that. And the key to it all, though, man, is that's why football analytics people get on my nerves sometimes. You have to play a certain way if you're built a certain way. And when they had Dak, okay, fine. Maybe if you need to throw the ball more, then you can throw the ball more. But the key to winning high school, college, and pro football still remains: run it when you want to run it, whenever that is, as long as you want to, it's on your terms, and run it when you need to run it. And today they did both of those things, and it was successful, and they should be feeling good about themselves. Certainly, they're not scared of Washington at 3-7. Just a couple weeks ago, I'm like, I don't know where the wins are coming from.
Well, now, like literally, you can look at them. You can win 5 of the last 6 games. Would it? I don't think that's crazy to say that.
Oh, I do.
Now, I'm not saying you will. I'm saying you can. The only one I still don't think you're going to get past is on the road at Baltimore. Philadelphia sucks. They're horrible.
Okay, the Cowboys suck. They're horrible.
They're not. I honestly think Philadelphia is worse because I think they get worse quarterback play.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I mean, I got to have more than one win. I mean, I can't say one win turns into 6.
No, I got you.
I might be able to jump off there without a bungee cord if they win 2 in a row.
I've still got my bungee cord on. It's because they stacked this with how they played against Pittsburgh, who was an undefeated team, and they had an opportunity. They didn't win, but I do think, and you kind of mentioned this, I think what we are seeing now in the last 2 games, in consecutive games, is that this team should be able to have an opportunity in the fourth quarter instead of when you went back 3 or 4 games ago, the game was over at halftime.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. And that, they have, what they have is hope. Now, I normally don't deal in hope, but they have hope. And when you have hope and you got a little bit of confidence from success, then, there's a lot of things that are possible. That's why, and I'm being serious here, man, that's why I always say sports is fluid. Because what's true today may not be true an hour from now or 3 hours from now, next week or next month or next year. And so what was a sorry, Rudy, raggedy poop football team, 3 weeks ago, well, it's not like that anymore. And if they can win Thursday in a quick turnaround where they have all the advantages, then they could sit there and go, well, that's 2 we won. One, you could argue we should have won against the NFL's only undefeated team. So now we got 10 days off. Let's see what we can make happen. You know, all things are possible when you believe, but it starts with winning, which leads to the belief.
As we continue with you here on the Jam Session podcast, a reminder, you can find us, as I mentioned earlier, on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist, and of course on our Instagram as well, at Jam Session Cast. If you're not following us there, I would encourage you to do so. And also check out the website at jamsessionpodcast.com/home. Time to tell you once again about one of our sponsors, and this, of course, is attorney Chris W. Fitzgerald with Fitzgerald Law. I've been telling you about him for a couple of weeks now, and I think this is really cool because if you are finding yourself in need of legal help, you have some legal questions, and I don't know why, but I do this. I'm always like, I don't need a lawyer. I'm never going to kill anybody. You need lawyers for all kinds of things. You need lawyers if you need a will put together, if you have questions about the legalese of business transactions and contracts, consumer bankruptcies, all these different things in the world of law.
If you've got a job offer and you want your attorney to look over your contract.
Yeah.
Or it's all kinds of things that attorneys come in handy for, man.
Indeed they do, and Chris can help you with that. And the cool thing is he does what's called virtual law practice. He has launched this. He can handle a variety of fields and pretty much all your needs almost exclusively online, because in this pandemic, especially with the rising COVID cases we're seeing, not just in Dallas County, but across Texas and across the country, a lot of courts are moving from in-person hearings to Zoom type meetings for court proceedings, and that's where Chris can come in and help you with these virtual law things. So check him out online at chrisfitzgeraldlaw.com or give him a call at 972-842-4220. Again, chrisfitzgeraldlaw.com. But I wanted to get into the play that we saw from the quarterback position tonight because it was interesting on both sides of the ball. Kirk Cousins, who I think most of us were blown away that at one point he shattered the record for quarterback pay and got a fully guaranteed contract with Minnesota, and then they extended him. But Kirk Cousins tonight, man, you know, at one point going into the fourth quarter, he had 13 straight passes completed until that drive where they absolutely had to get a stop to give the offense back the ball for the Cowboys, and they got it done where he threw 2 straight incompletions. But, you know, Kirk Cousins had a damn solid game today, threw for over 300 yards, had 3 touchdowns. At one point, he had a perfect quarterback rating. I don't believe he finished with that.
No, he finished with
a 140.
140.
Yeah.
Which is still fantastic. But, you know, they were able to shut him down on that last drive. But, you know, when I was talking about, you know, football analytics, people get on my nerves sometimes because they don't pay attention to the game, just the statistical average or, you know, probability. You know, why was Kirk Cousins 20 out of 23 for 300 yards at one point? Because you had to pay so much attention to Dalvin Cook and his running game and trying to stop him that, I mean, anytime they play action passes and any of that stuff, it was like taking candy, man. And so depending on how your team is built, it makes sense to run the ball on first down or second down or, you know, 3 or 4 times in a row. But Kirk Cousins was looking good, man. And I got to tell you, I think Anthony Brown is probably an average cornerback, but he looked below average today.
My God.
Thielen and Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
Now, I mean, if you're not a shutdown corner, I got to tell you, this probably happens to most corners at least once here or there. But my God, Thielen was giving him that work, man, and then he probably saw Jefferson and he was like, "Oh, finally I get a break." And then Jefferson lit him up for a 39-yard touchdown.
Yep.
It was Kirk Cousins was taking whatever he wanted early, man. I mean, late.
Yeah.
But, you know, they got pressure on him early, and I thought they were doing a good job of harassing him and hitting him and doing all that stuff. But then Dalvin Cook started taking over, man. And here's what happened, Matt. And most people don't pay attention to this. If you got to spend that much energy getting blocked and getting off blocks and tackling Dalvin Cook, guess what you then don't have the legs to do? Rush the passer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing left, which means Kirk Cousins got time to throw. He's got comfort. And so he picked them apart. And that's why, to me, now you can tell me what you think. When they went on that last scoring drive, they gave their defense enough of a breather that when they came back on the field, they weren't exhausted. And so they were able to get pressure on him on almost all those pass attempts.
Yeah, I think that's true. And Cousins had a great game, but on the flip side of this, I thought Andy Dalton came in and did pretty much what you needed him to do. Now, he looked, I can't remember, somebody had tweeted at you and used the word adequate, and you said adequate's a good way to describe him. And I thought, man, that's exactly the word to use.
Check this out, man. I do these grades for the Dallas Morning News.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did my grades with about 6 minutes left, and Andy Dalton had, I think, it's not Andy Dalton, it's the passing game. The passing game had an F. And that's because, if you go back and think about it, they only had 2 completions of 20 yards or more.
Right.
At that point, he only had about 200 yards passing, and he was adequate. He didn't lose the game, which is the backup judge's first job. But when there's a guy like Dalton who's been in the league for 10 years and wants to go be a starter after this year,
right,
you kind of want to say, okay, you get points for not losing it, but you didn't really do anything to win it either. I mean, you were just kind of adequate.
Yeah, you were just kind of there. And, to be fair, he almost threw it away right at the end on that one of the final passes that probably should have been interception. He did throw the one interception to Kendrick.
Well, that was a great play.
I thought it was a great play as well, but he had the other one that Kendrick's almost got his hands on, and then a couple of the passes. But, this is what you do. You nitpick it. That catch by CeeDee Lamb in the end zone, I have no idea where Andy Dalton was trying to throw that, but CeeDee Lamb turned around and was like, oh, the ball's not where it's supposed to be. Let me do something no human can do. I mean, that he was parallel to the ground, reached back over behind his head, and made an unbelievable catch on that pass.
No, that's fantastic. But I think for all that about Andy Dalton, because, he made some good plays. He made some bad throws. That's why I said he really was adequate. But at winning time on the last drive, man, he threw that dart to Amari Cooper on 4th and 6. I mean, that may have been his best throw of the game because he dropped back, boom, put his foot, decisive throw, tight spiral, right where it was supposed to be. Then he came back with that throw to Dalton Schultz down the seam. That was another nice throw. That was before he tried to lose the game with that double pump action down.
Right.
That reminded me of Seattle and Malcolm Butler at the end zone, where Dalton Schultz kind of stops running his route and the cornerback jumps in front. But anyway, so what I'm saying is at winning time, man, he delivered the 26th game-winning drive and 26th fourth-quarter comeback of his career. He took his grade in Jacques Taylor's classroom from the passing offense being an F to, I think they got a C+.
Which I think is right there. I would agree with that. I would say it was about a C+, adequate game to where Andy Dalton is going to turn the ball over. I think we're all aware of that. Now, he only threw the 1 pick, so I'll take it. He didn't throw multiple picks as we just went through. You could say, well, but they didn't. They didn't get them. So,
I also judge. Now, this is just me. I judge picks by, I kind of put them in 3 different categories. Sometimes did you miss the coverage and they just fooled you and it was a terrible, it's just a bad throw. Then there are bad decisions. Then there's those indiscriminate throws where you're trying not to get sacked and you just throw it up for grabs and you go, what the hell are you doing, bro?
Right.
And then sometimes the other guy makes a great play and you go, well, damn, I guess that they pay the other dude too. I saw the one bad one at the end of the game, but the 2 plays Kendricks made, both of them I thought were just, damn. I didn't know Kendricks was that good.
I can't believe he got the first pick. I mean, linebackers aren't supposed to have hands like that.
Right.
I mean, that was a great pick, And look, Dalton ran.
The second one, he stopped, changed directions, and almost snagged that one with his hands, too.
Yeah, and he had, Andy Dalton had the, whatever it was, like the 7-yard run on 3rd and 6 early in the game where they had to have a first down. And I thought he showed, I still wonder why not go with Garrett Gilbert based on what he saw. I don't know that we've seen anything better from Andy Dalton, but to your point, you had put this in, Jacques and I obviously message each other with thoughts about the podcast, whatnot, and you had put in there, he almost blew the game, but he was at his best when it mattered most. And I think that's the takeaway from this. Adequate, maybe average quarterback play for the bulk of the game, but when he had to make a throw, as you pointed out, that throw to Cooper, he was able to make that throw, and it was, I think, probably the best throw he's made since the bomb to Gallup in the Giants game.
Yeah, and I think you have to take into consideration that, he got hurt against Washington, so he hadn't played in a couple weeks, and so there is a bit of rustiness that starts, that that's created when you haven't played in a few weeks. And now that he's had a full game, you would hope that he'd be, more in tune and more ready to go next week or Thursday against Washington. But I think with Andy Dalton, what you get is the proverbial professional quarterback. If you put the right people around him, and they have adequate skilled people, because at least we saw Michael Gallup today, we saw Amari Cooper today, we saw CeeDee Lamb today, we saw Zeke, we saw Pollard. Because when DiNucci played, we didn't see none of them, dog.
Right.
We didn't see none of them. It was a joke. You just couldn't see him at all. There's hope with Andy Dalton. We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. But like you said, I think that there's some hope that they have somebody that at least can come in, do some of the things that we saw today, and hopefully, you can consistently put some stuff together, and we'll see where it goes. But, it is interesting because you talked about we saw these guys. I think it had a lot to do with the offensive line choices. He had more time in the pocket. Now, granted, Minnesota, believe it or not, does not have some dominant pass rush. They're not one of those elite-level pass rushing teams anymore. But I thought Andy Dalton had a little bit more time, was able to make some good choices, and he was able to connect with guys, as you mentioned, like Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup. And, oddly enough, Amari Cooper is quietly having actually a really solid season. He had 6 for 81 today, and I know it doesn't seem like much, but with all things considered, I feel like, when you look at this, Amari Cooper is on pace for 104 catches for 1,200 yards this year.
Huh? Not bad, huh?
I mean, even with having to play with Gilbert and having to play with DiNucci and losing Dak, he's still on pace for 104 and 1,200. And I thought, it doesn't feel like he's done anything crazy good this year, but yet that's a solid season.
It's real good. It shows you kind of what his talent level is, and also shows you that he's been able to do a little bit with the lack of quarterbacks. I keep telling people, man, anytime you're playing 4 quarterbacks, dog,
right? No doubt.
It's a joke. That's really all you can say.
Right.
Because think about it, most teams don't even have a good backup. So the fact that you have to go 4 deep at the quarterback spot most of the time is a joke.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, though, because Cooper only 2 touchdown catches on the year. Obviously, you would like to see that come up, but CeeDee Lamb got another touchdown catch today. He's got 4 on the year now, and they posted that graphic. I didn't realize that he's got the record now for Cowboys receptions by a rookie.
No, Dez must have just missed it, because I think Dez caught 40-something his first year.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because I wouldn't have thought at all that with some of the receivers that have been here throughout the course of history in this organization that it would have been, what's he at now, 48, I think, for CeeDee Lamb. Dez had 45 his rookie year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just would have thought the number would have been higher than that, but CeeDee Lamb obviously he continues to have just a consistent. It's not like he had a monster game today, 4 for 34, but man, that touchdown catch, 21-yard gain, just he is that dude, and you knew it. You knew that they were going to go back to that fade at some point, and they went to it again later on, and he almost got it where he tried to tip it to himself one-handed but couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, man, but he had a nice game because he had the 4 catches, but he had the 2 runs. One of them he picked up a first down on. Maybe both of them he picked up a first down on. He had the 18-yard punt return. Then I thought he was going to take that last punt return to the house, man. He returned that one somewhere around 15 yards or so.
Yeah, it was a 20-yard gain when they needed it.
That's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
he had a hell of a game today in a bunch of different areas, and you saw, he's going to be a star, and there's no doubt in my mind that if Dak had played all these games right now, his numbers would be right up there with Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that's a good point about that Lamb punt return because that was the punt that Minnesota had in the second half after Dallas got the stop, and he caught that at the 19 and took it to the 39 and gave Dallas really good starting field position for them to go down the field and score that touchdown that would eventually end up being the game-winning touchdown.
Well, here's the deal. As that punt is going, I was sitting there watching it. I literally said, can you make the first guy miss? Because all I could see was that one guy. Mm-hmm. And when he made the first guy miss and had it right, I was like, oh, snap. He's got a convoy set up. And that last dude snatched him by the ankle and made him stumble because he didn't really tackle him. He just messed his stride up because if he gets around that guy, he's probably going 30, 40, 50 yards, if not to the house.
Yeah, very true.
But then maybe that would have given him enough time to come back, so it all worked out.
That's what needed to happen. Probably so. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb, obviously, and this was a game in which on the other side of the field for the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, I would say those are probably the top 2 rookie wide receivers in the NFL this year. And Justin Jefferson, he didn't have a ton of catches in this one. He was only targeted 5 times, but 3 for 86, a touchdown. You saw that nice over-the-shoulder catch that he had early in the game when Cheeto was on him. And then as you pointed out, we were talking about this earlier, he went right by Anthony Brown on that 39-yard touchdown catch. And, I mean, you can just see they let Stephon Diggs go in the offseason, and there's a reason why, because it's obvious that Justin Jefferson just kind of steps right into that role that helps Adam Thielen, who dominated today.
Well, I'm gonna play chess instead of checkers. What you see from the Vikings, is exactly why, even though we just complimented Amari Cooper, it's why I think they'll let him go after next year, because they'll go, we got CeeDee Lamb, we got Gallup, we can ride with these two and find another third guy, as opposed to paying you all this money while we can get CD on his rookie deal, while he's still cheap for another 3 years. It's good for your salary cap and flexibility and all that stuff. But I thought I was looking forward to it, and I think CeeDee Lamb wanted to show Justin Jefferson and the rest of the NFL that, I think I'm the best rookie receiver out here. But Justin Jefferson, man, he's been having a hell of a year, and he had a hell of a game. He came in averaging 18 yards a catch, which is a big number. And then, dude, all he did against the Cowboys was go for 27, 20, and 39-yard touchdown. Hey, how about that 20-yard catch, man, where he just snatched it with his hand?
Yeah, and he's just held it up above in his hands the whole way to the ground. I thought, my God, I mean, how strong are your hands?
Dude, that was incredible, man. So he's a bad man. He's a very bad man. But I thought CeeDee Lamb had a good game for what he did. And I think I like about CeeDee Lamb is he's forever trying to show you he's a tough guy. Whether he's getting his head smashed into the ground and his helmet pops off, he pops right up. Somebody drilled him and got, the defenseless receiver penalty.
Yeah, that was Harrison Smith that got him, yeah.
And he popped right up. And he's always trying to deliver a block. He's gotten penalized a couple times, but, I mean, hell, I ain't going to never really be mad at a receiver for trying to deliver a big-time block. But on that run that you were talking about, Dalton going for 7 yards in the first down, he threw a big block on that. So for a little skinny dude, man, he's a very physical guy. And I think you can respect that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think another thing, and we just discussed it, that CeeDee Lamb does that Justin Jefferson doesn't do is the special teams aspect of returning punts, where he can be a weapon in that aspect of the game. Again, that 20-yard punt return at a time when the Cowboys needed it on that drive to shorten the field, to give themselves a chance to go down and score the winning touchdown, and CeeDee Lamb had a big return on that, and that's something Justin Jefferson doesn't do. But I think, at least for year one, I think it's pretty obvious that those are the two best rookie wide receivers, and we'll see, maybe Henry Ruggs or Rager or somebody comes along in the next few years. Jerry Jeudy has really started to come on in recent games. I didn't see what he did today, but I know in recent weeks, Jerry Jeudy up there in Denver had started to come on a little bit. But as far as consistency and showing the big plays and the ability to do some of those things, Lamb and Jefferson today, it was a lot of fun to see both those guys, whether it was the big touchdown passes to Jefferson or that catch that CD made. I think you'll hear that in secret audio of a Cowboys Homer, where I was just like, I mean, I can't believe he caught that ball. I cannot believe he caught that ball. To turn yourself the way that he did and be able to catch that ball, I have no idea how he was able to catch that ball.
I think the thing about it is, and I said this to myself, Andy Dalton threw it. I go, well, damn, that's a bad throw. Like, there was no way to me, the angle in which he threw it, the angle where CeeDee was running, there was no way that CeeDee Lamb was going to catch that pass. And for them to then, I mean, it's like a gymnast move, man. It was like a full, what do you call it, a half twist with a pike?
Yeah, it is kind of like that.
To go parallel and twist and catch it on the way. I mean, that's up there with the best I've ever seen, man. especially on the fade. Now, Dez had several, fantastic, incredible, unbelievable catches on fades, but that was in a conversation for anyone as good as Dez ever had.
Yeah, and I think to your point that you're starting to see that CeeDee Lamb, which we all kind of figured he was, that CeeDee Lamb at 17 was going to end up being, at some point, the number one wide receiver on this team. I feel like there are games where he shows that he is, not that he is truly the number one right now, but that he can be, and there are games where they decided that he's going to be the guy for that game so far. And I think you're right. I think they're going to let Amari Cooper walk in a couple of years, and they're going to roll with Gallup, who they'll probably be able to get a really cheap deal worked out with him because of the season that he's having, that he's not going to be able to take it and get some massive extension or anything that he might have been hoping for. We'll see how it plays out, but CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup moving forward for the next few years as your duo, and who knows what happens with Amari Cooper, I think is probably the way that this thing will work itself out.
No, I would agree with that. Although I would be reluctant to say they're going to get Michael Gallup on a really cheap deal. I think you can get him on a. I would replace cheap with reasonable.
Yeah, I was thinking more team friendly. Cheap is probably the wrong word for it. I mean, let's also keep in mind he still does have another year left on his deal. But, I would think if I'm the Cowboys, you approach him this offseason about working out an extension.
Yeah, because when Dak gets back next year and he gets back to
Right.
having a 1,000-yard season, the price is going back up.
That's what exactly, where you just sit there and you go, look, you had a down season, but we still want to keep you around. We're willing to do this. We'll take care of you right now instead of waiting and seeing what could happen. I mean, who knows? Maybe, gosh, look what happened to Dak. What if that were to happen to you? I mean, who knows? I don't know if that'll happen, but if it doesn't, then yeah, because after 2021, if he decides to not sign an extension this offseason and wait till he's an actual free agent, then yeah, I think that, with that coming back next year, you would expect Gallup would go back and have the season we all thought he was going to have this season.
Yeah, I think so. I think the key is CeeDee Lamb is the guy who you can build around in the future. I think he's shown you almost everything you need to see that he can, be a number one receiver. I don't think you can lose sight of it. And the reason I'm kind of glad that Amari's here for another year, at least, is that, again, CD ain't seeing the top cornerbacks in the league.
That's true.
Nor is he seeing that double coverage on a regular basis. And so as he continues to hone his craft and learn and get more and more intuitive about the game, that in year 3, when it is his time to take over, I think, he'll be much more equipped to do that.
It's pretty solid for a rookie wide receiver.
Oh, no, man. That's, rookie receivers are one of the hardest jobs in the league because you don't see many NFL caliber cornerbacks in college. Like, if you just go CeeDee Lamb at Oklahoma, how many NFL caliber cornerbacks did he face his junior year at Oklahoma?
Well, I mean, he plays in the Big 12, so.
You know what I'm saying?
Not many.
That's what I said. 1 or 2. Really. And, he's torching all these other cats.
Right.
And so you get to the league and everybody, obviously, is an elite player. So it's, it takes some getting used to. Reading all those complex coverages, it's more than a notion, and that's why most of them struggle. So for him to come in and really play well, that's a positive sign, man. They drafted another star, and he helped them tonight. And they're going to need him to help him win, Thursday against Washington.
Yeah, that is now CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, the Cowboys 3-7. They've played 10 games. CeeDee Lamb in 9 of those 10 games has had at least 4 receptions or more. And then, of course, the Washington game in which he had no catches at all, which was really weird. But, for a rookie receiver to have 4 catches or more in 9 of 10 games, that's damn good.
Oh, yeah. No, he's doing the thing, man. No doubt about that. So it's a hell of a pick. And he helped him win a game today.
He did indeed.
Justin Jefferson can't say that.
Yeah, and it sucks too because Jefferson's on my fantasy team. I picked him up because the thing with Jefferson, like the first 2 weeks of the Viking season, he didn't do hardly anything. And somebody in our league had drafted him and dropped him after the first 2 weeks. So I picked him up immediately. And then in week 3, since I think they showed the graphic on the thing today on the game, he leads the NFL in receiving yards since week 3.
Wow, it must be your coaching.
It must be, man. I was just, I tell him every game we need whatever you can give us this week. And he came through again this week, even though my team I lost. I wasn't even going to look. I knew I was going to lose, but so it goes. As we continue with you here on Jam Session, want to remind you, I actually did this weekend. I got another 3 pounds of those wings from Kroger.
3 pounds? Really?
Well, 3 pounds, you got to realize, like I had Maddox this weekend, my son, and so 3 pounds, we counted them, it was 27 wings. So 9 for me, 9 for the lady, and 9 for Maddox.
Wait a minute, Max is eating the same number of wings you are?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Yes.
Okay.
Like, we did that
does
so
he
everybody.
Eat wings like a kid where there's a bunch of meat left on him, or does he devour it and there's nothing but bone and gristle?
No, he devours them. Like he knows how to, and he loves the wings. Like it's the wildest thing. Like he likes the mango habanero, and every time I have them, he always wants me to grill them out. So I've been getting them fairly regularly, and these wings are available at all. Well, not all, but most North Texas Kroger locations. You get them at Kroger, you go to the back where you get your steaks and your meat cuts and all that, and you talk to the guy and you tell him, hey, I want some of the wings there in the window, and they've got the mango habanero and the buffalo blue cheese. Not all locations have the wings, and not all locations carry both flavors, but if you can find them.
Check this out, man. There's no breading, just meat and flavor.
That's correct. And that's one of the reasons why I like them so much, because I love the flavor of these things, man. I had them perfect, too, the other day. I nailed them. Just right on point. 27 wings on the grill, and we downed them.
Had the internal temperature at 125?
Whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not sticking a meat thermometer into them. I throw them on the grill. I turn them once after a few minutes. You just kind of eyeball it. I'm like, they look good, and then you wrap them up in the foil in their own juices for a minute, and you're good to go.
Okay, cool.
So go get them, man. The wings at Kroger, they're badass.
And we've also added another sponsor this week, Matt. And we always appreciate sponsors because without them, we couldn't do what we do. CTC Chiropractic in DeSoto. Now, y'all often hear me talk about I work out with a chiropractor. Well, it's CTC Chiropractic. And I got to tell you, honestly, Matt, I've been working out with him and getting adjusted by him on a weekly basis for about 5 years. And to be honest, Matt, I've never felt better. Really. Because getting adjusted keeps your body in line, and you'd be shocked how many times you got a rib out of place, you got a crick in your neck because you didn't sleep right. And I never noticed all these things until I started going right away. I swear by them. I encourage everybody, just go by and get adjusted once. See if it makes a difference for you. See if you like the way it feels. You ever been adjusted, Matt?
I don't think I've ever been to a chiropractor.
I like to tell this real quick story. I used to be a chiropractic skeptic, and then I went one day because I had some fatigue in my leg, and a friend of mine was a chiropractor, and he said, well, just come see me and I'll adjust you. And he did it, and he said, how do you feel? I said, oh, my God, I'm sold. And it took about a minute. They're in DeSoto. You can check them out at ctcchiropractic.com. And, hey, they accept most insurance, but, hey, go give them a look, go give them a try and see if getting the magic hands of Dr. Cornish don't make you feel just a little bit better.
I like that. The magic hands of Dr. Cornish. Sounds like a show that would come on late night Cinemax back in the day. I like it. Maybe I will go. Yeah. Where are your magic hands? Elsewhere, though, before we get back into the Cowboys, some things happening around the NFL today as some interesting matchups, and we might as well just start with the NFC East because, as we discussed before, now the Giants were on a bye, but the Eagles 3-6-1, and they still lead the East despite a loss on the road today against the Cleveland Browns, 22-17, and good old Carson Wentz, man. Carson Wentz, couple of interceptions, sacked multiple times, threw a pick six. He's just, whatever it is, he is having the weirdest, worst regression of a season of a year 5 quarterback that had played at the level that he had been at. I can't recall another quarterback being that quality for 4 seasons and then in his 5th year falling off a map.
Well, I mean, I think I'm being real. Now, I mean, I know you hate the Eagles. You know, you're always trying to figure out why. Okay, what's the deal with him? Why does he borderline suck now? Because he used to be good, and I don't think it's a coincidence, man. I mean, we've said it before. Now it's his problem, and it sucks for him.
Right.
But they've done a bad job of surrounding him with outside weapons. They just have.
Which is true.
And now this year, their offensive line has had more injuries than the Cowboys' offensive line. So if you look at it and say, His offensive line is worse than the Cowboys' offensive line, and we know what we think of that offensive line. And he ain't got Gallup and CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper to throw to. And then I think you have the quarterback savior complex, which means he's trying to make big plays. Why did Siri just come on, Matt?
I don't know. I was like, God, what kind of random woman is talking to you in the background?
Okay, I got to tell you, this is why I turned that. I almost called her a 5-letter cuss word. This is why I turned her off, because I'm like, shut up. Nobody's talking to you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you talking to us?
And so she's been turned off now. Gosh, she threw me off. So anyway, I think when you look at the offensive line, you look at his receivers, you look at the quarterback hero complex, I think you can see why he's having an awful year. And then the more you press, the worse you play. And so I think it's been a perfect storm of confluence of events that has led him to this. And now it's to the point where, you start, even the great ones, man, you start to lose confidence and you can't see it like you're used to seeing it. On a personal level, Matt, I saw this weekend with Ohio State. Justin Fields got rattled early, and all of a sudden he's holding the ball, he's double clutching, he's not throwing because he's completely out of sync and completely out of whack. And I think that's how Carson Wentz has been all season.
Well, I'll tell you this. They are getting questions, and Doug Peterson had to answer it from the Philadelphia media after the game about benching Carson Wentz. And at some point, because guess what? You spent a second-round pick on a quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And he
can't do that.
Right, and he had to answer those questions after the game against Cleveland about, is it time to bench Carson Wentz? And, of course, he answered it and said, if you get to that spot where you don't start him or you bench him, I think you're sending the wrong message to your football team that this season is over, and that's a bad message. We have to work through this. But Carson Wentz is having a just horrible season. Now, before today, okay, this is before today in which he threw another couple of picks. He entered Week 11 ranked 32nd in completion percentage, 31st in yards per attempt. He led the league before he threw 2 more picks and interceptions with 12. He now has 14, and he has been sacked more than any other quarterback in the league. Those are all not good numbers.
Yeah, but see, this is what we're talking about. You said he's been sacked more than any other quarterback in the league. I've told you almost since the day I met you, and I ain't breaking no news. Quarterbacks under duress make mistakes. And then, then you add again the hero syndrome where I'm supposed to be the guy, you're trying to make plays, you're forcing balls. It's a slippery slope once you get on it, man, and it is hard to get off of it. And I'm just going to be honest with you, man. My suspicion is he ain't getting off of it this year. He needs like an off-season reset.
I agree. Because at this point, you're 10 games into this thing.
I think it's like this, man. And we never talk about it like in these terms, really. But check this out. In the course of a quarterback, he has his 10-year career. All right. At some point in there, he's going to have what? He's going to have a career year where it's 37 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and a 127 passer rating, and maybe our team wins the Super Bowl or we get to the NFC Championship game, right?
You'd think so, yeah.
What else is he also going to have in a 10-year career, Matt? He's going to have a year like, oh, my God, what the hell is your problem?
Well, this is it.
It reminds me, what was that year Romo had where he had like 19 picks?
Yeah.
Like 2000 and, I don't know, one of those years he was awful. And I was just like, dude, what are you doing? I think it was 2011 or 12 where he's just awful. And he threw a bunch of picks, and that's when they went to DeMarco Murray and started running the ball because they're like, we can't trust you to throw it, dude, because every time you throw it too many times, you throw a bunch of picks, and we got to do something. Well, I think this is that year for your boy, man. I think he's just having an awful year, and it ain't changing no time soon.
No, it's not, and the Eagles are in some trouble here because their next 4 games, before they play Dallas again, the weekend after, Christmas weekend, here's their next 4 games. Seattle at home, on the road at Green Bay, New Orleans at home, on the road against Arizona. You can see it where the Eagles are about to lose since they lost to Cleveland. They may be about to embark on a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, you kind of think they'll get one of those, but hey, I can't tell you which one.
And they won't be favored in it. And nobody looks at those 4 games and thinks they're going to beat any of those teams.
No. But I think they have to look at it like if we can go 2-2, we straight. But that's a hard 2-2 to get. Which two are you getting? Because they're playing so poorly. Oh, I found it, Matt. He threw 19 picks in 2012 with just 28 touchdown passes. And that's what I mean. That was most of his career. And he did that at 32, and we're like, you're regressing, bro.
No.
That's Carson Wentz, dog, having a career awful year.
Yeah, if Carson Wentz continues at this rate, he'll throw over 20 picks this season when it's all said and done. Elsewhere around the NFL and the NFC East, Washington got a win today at home to pick up their third win. Not a big deal beating Cincinnati. The thing about this game is that Joe Burrow suffered a knee injury. It is believed to be a torn ACL, which would put him out for the year. He tweeted after the game, it's going to take more than this to keep me out, or something like that. And then he basically said, I'll see you next year. So he knows he's done. So Joe Burrow, who had been having a really solid rookie season and had been the guy that Cleveland or Cincinnati had found that you believed maybe over the course of time you can win with, his season as a rookie over after just 10 starts.
No, that's terrible, man. I hate to see really, really good young players get hurt. You hate to see anybody get hurt, especially really young, good, talented players.
Yeah.
And he's he's probably better than I thought he was because he's making a difference in Cincinnati, bro.
He is.
You know what I mean?
He definitely
he's
is,
making a difference. Like, you can tell that year at LSU wasn't a fluke. Like, something happened, the light went on, and he is that dude.
Yeah, and we shall see, but unfortunate news there with Joe Burrow for the Cincinnati Bengals when they found their guy that had kind of revitalized, even in a 2-7-1 season, which they're going to have another high draft pick. So that'll be interesting at the top of the draft for Cincinnati, much like Dallas if they want Dak here. If you're at the top of the draft, Cincinnati may be in a position where they are the team that can trade down and get a bevy of picks to supply weapons and pieces around Joe Burrow since they have their guy.
I was going to say, man, they need to go get him the top the top wide receiver out there. Maybe that dude from LSU who took the year off.
Yeah, Jamar Chase. Yeah, Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith are generally looked at as the top two wide receivers from LSU and Bama, respectively. Elsewhere around the league, and this one was interesting, not that the Saints won. They won at home over a crappy Falcons team, 24-9. They're 8-2. They right now are in the lead in the NFC for that one seed. And keep in mind, this year with the 7 playoff teams, there is only one team that gets a first-round bye, and that is the 1 seed, which New Orleans has that bullseyed right now. But the more interesting thing about this game was that Drew Brees obviously is going to be out for a while. You know, they went back through and they found that he has fractures in 11 ribs.
Oh, my goodness.
And they decide not to go this whole week leading up to this. You and I were both on Twitter. People were like, oh, why isn't Jameis Winston? I was like, why would Jameis Winston start? You got a dude who's making $10.5 million as a backup quarterback this year in Taysom Hill versus Jameis Winston, who's making about $1 million. Why would you put in the $1 million backup when you paid that dude $10.5 million?
That is the whole question, man. That was always the question. Like, what are y'all thinking about? The NFL is the one league you can always follow the money, man. They'll tell you who's on the roster, who's getting cut. I mean, you can follow the money. And the money says $16 million says this is our quarterback compared to $1 million. It's easy, man. Easy.
Yes, it is. And so Taysom Hill gets the start today and had a solid day for the New Orleans Saints. He ended up not throwing any passing touchdowns, 18 of 23 for 233, but he was also their leading rusher as he ran 10 times for 51 yards and had a couple of touchdowns. And you see kind of the reason why. And whether he truly believes it or not, Sean Payton has said in the past that he believes Taysom Hill is in the mold of a Steve Young. Now, we'll see. I think I read where he is only the 3rd quarterback to make his first career start at the age that he's at, joining Mark Bolger and somebody else, Doug Peterson, who had their first career starts this late in their career. Yeah, and look, we'll see. The Saints obviously have something as long as Sean Payton is there and their defense is solid enough. I think that their defense, and we've talked about this before, is better than Seattle's or Green Bay's.
Right.
And they have shown that they can thump Tampa Bay. So right now, yeah, they're 8-2, and I think you have to say they're the best team in the NFC.
Taysom Hill, 233, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Ran 10 times for 51 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's a hell of a day, man, for a backup quarterback. Because remember, that's what he is now. And he's a backup quarterback who helped his team win. He just did not lose the game. He helped his team win.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too, with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. I mean, that's the reality of it, is that Jameis was taking that shortcut. Here's why he came in to the game as the quarterback when Brees went down, and we've talked about this before. Taysom Hill, if Drew Brees is healthy, is not the backup quarterback. It's Jameis Winston, because Taysom Hill all week is working in the offensive packages, doing these different things and on special teams. So, like, if Brees were to go down, he's a part of other things that they do. Now,
right.
Leading into the next game, which is what we saw today, you have a week where you say, okay, Taysom, you're the quarterback now, so now we're not going to play you on special teams and put you in these weird packages, but now we have an entire week to prep you and to have you take the reps with the ones and all this in practice as we go through the week so that you can be the quarterback.
No, and I mean, I think, and when you listen to a bunch of different broadcasters this week, they all said Sean Payton told them that during training camp and during their various travels to his particular city, New Orleans, this season. So ultimately, nobody should have really been surprised that Taysom Hill was the guy.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. And again, as we mentioned, New Orleans now atop the NFC at 8-2. They are a game ahead of a couple of other teams. As we look elsewhere around the NFL, one of the things that jumped out with us. Oh, whoops, I lost my play. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the Baltimore game. Baltimore is an interesting team to me because I think a lot of people thought that maybe this would be the year. Maybe Lamar Jackson can get over the hump and get a playoff win. They've got the defense. They've got the reigning NFL MVP. You drafted J.K. Dobbins. That's just going to make your running.
Bryant.
Right. Des Bryant. Look, you know what? Didn't he have 4 catches today, I think?
Yeah, 4 catches for 28 yards.
Okay, well, there you go. He was their second leading receiver today.
Yep.
It is strange to me that they have not found the dominance that they had last year. They lose to the Tennessee Titans at home today. They're 6-4, but still, I mean, the Ravens have had a solid season. They lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Steelers, who are undefeated, and they lost to the Titans. The weird one is the fact that they lost to the Titans coming in after losing to the Patriots last week, and the Patriots aren't any good.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots aren't any good, but they're still the kind of team that, you know, because Belichick is there and they can create some havoc with you. That, I mean, you got to play well to beat them. They're not like some teams where you can mess around with them and still win the game. You got to play well to beat Baltimore. And so Baltimore is at 6-4, and what they've shown thus far is that they can't beat the other elite teams this year. I mean, they play them close, but they can't beat them.
Right.
And so that, to me, is a problem for them. And I'm looking at they didn't score enough points today, but I mean, they lost in overtime. They're a really good team, man. They're just a tick off, and most folks are hoping that they don't figure it out. I mean, I don't care what their record is. They're a really physical team. They're a really good team. And don't forget, some of these teams are playing that have seen them for a minute. Like, I think Lamar Jackson. He wasn't a dominant runner today. For a team like Dallas that doesn't see them all the time, when they play them, that's going to be a problem because that running game, when you don't see it on a regular basis, is tough to handle.
And I know this is going to change because, again, we have 6 weeks left, but Pittsburgh wins again today. They're 10-0, so Baltimore, and they've already lost to Pittsburgh once. Baltimore's 4 games behind Pittsburgh, not just in the division, but also for that 1 seed. And I think that's going to be interesting to see, especially with Lamar Jackson, who has yet to win a playoff game. Baltimore right now is fighting for the 7th spot in the playoffs. Now, they've still got to play Cleveland again, and I don't think that that's going to be a problem for them. We were talking about that earlier. I mean, they destroyed the Browns the first week of the season. They've got the Steelers again coming up this next weekend, and they have to play the Browns and the Bengals again. So you got to think that they're going to get in there, but there's a difference between having the home field and, of course, if they get one of the lower seeds and they have to go on the road all the way through, winding up through Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, I think look at it the other way. They got Pittsburgh, and then if you look at it from Baltimore's perspective, after Pittsburgh, they got Dallas, Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Giants, and the Bengals.
So they should win 5 out to close it out.
That's what we're saying.
Until the Cowboys beat them.
And we'll be sitting here talking about, so they went 11-5.
Right.
If they take care of business and do all the things that they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and it's an interesting season because Pittsburgh is still undefeated, and I don't know what I make of Pittsburgh. I really don't. Even though when you look at their schedule, I think part of it is because they beat the Titans barely, they beat the Ravens barely, but outside of that, those are the only two games Pittsburgh. Here's their other 8 wins. The Giants, the Broncos, the Texans, the Eagles, the Browns, the Cowboys, the Bengals, and the Jaguars. Those are 8 teams that are not good, that are crap.
Okay, now you just gave Cleveland credit for beating all them kind of teams.
Well, no, in Pittsburgh, you got to beat the teams. Like, they did not bring their A game against Dallas, but they found a way to win.
Okay, well, that's half of the NFL is about that, man. Because let's just be real. How many elite teams are there in the NFL this year? Maybe Kansas City?
Maybe. I don't know. But how do you not say that Pittsburgh's not at 10-0?
Okay, Pittsburgh and Kansas City. Who else is elite? Maybe the Saints? What I'm saying is there ain't but 3 or 4 of them that you can even put in that conversation.
Right.
Whoever we're calling elite this year, are they the 95 Cowboys? Are they the 92 Cowboys?
No.
Are they the 94 Niners? Are they the undefeated Patriots? No. So none of these teams are great. They're all, the ones that are really good are just really good. They're not special. This is a weird year with the pandemic and no real home field advantage, man. This is like high school football, dog.
Yeah, because it's
highest level. It
is interesting, especially in the AFC, because in the NFC is really no different. But you look at the AFC, you've got the Colts and the Browns are both 7-3, and I'm not sure what to make of either one of those teams.
Exactly.
But we were talking about that earlier. Cleveland, their 7 wins are against teams that are crap, and their 3 losses are against teams that you would think are better than them. So there is something to be said for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the fact that, okay, you won 18 games against crappy teams, but you also beat the 2 high-quality opponents on your schedule to get to 10-0.
This is somewhat cliche, but it's true, man. It's hard to win in the league, and what happens is every game's decided by a handful of plays, 4 or 5 of them. And if you make them consistently because you understand how to win, then you end up being 10-6, 11-5, 12-4. Because most games aren't blowouts. What do you have mostly? 2, 3 legitimate blowouts a year, and every other game is a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, but you were leading by a touchdown with 4 minutes left, and then you closed it out. That's just the way the games are.
So we shall see. Interesting season in the NFL, to say the least, as we continue forward here with you on Jam Session, the podcast. The Dallas Cowboys. We were talking about the 31-28 win, and we've spent a lot of time discussing. We talked about Andy Dalton and Zeke and the wide receivers. The offense looked really nice. But one thing I think everybody was curious about, because there was the idea they played really good defense against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You held them to whatever it was, 46 yards rushing. Yes, Big Ben passed for over 300 yards, but you hung in there and made some plays. Well, today I thought this was an interesting game, because the Cowboys defense in the first half came out and for the most part really contained the Vikings. As a matter of fact, Dalvin Cook, and we had talked about this leading into the game, Dalvin Cook's probably the best running back in the NFL this year. And he comes in averaging all these yards. You thought he would run all over the Cowboys. And then at halftime, he's got 12 carries for 37 yards, which is 3.1 yards per carry.
Nah, they did a terrific job on him early, but they were very physical. And early on in the game, man, the Cowboys, to me, were dominating the line of scrimmage, meaning look at if you remember some of those runs, there was a lot of white in the backfield. They were winning the line of scrimmage. They were hitting him. They were gang tackling. They were running to the ball. They were doing all the things that good defenses do. Here's the problem. Who is Denver's offensive coordinator? It's Gary Kubiak. Who is Gary Kubiak? Well, aside from being a Texas A&M great, so to speak, he's a guy who is committed to the running game from all his years in Denver. And so what happens is, instead of being discouraged by having 12 for 31 in the first half, he's like, okay, let's get it cranked up, man. Let's see. Let's reevaluate the running game. Let's go attack them this way in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And in the second half, and shoot, man, that's what they did.
Yeah, they did, and they did it big time, and that helped to open up some of the play action and some of the big plays that we saw, obviously. And that second half where Thielen comes out and hits the 51-yard bomb from Kirk Cousins, and all of a sudden, what Minnesota was unable to do offensively in the first half, they had absolutely zero problems doing in the second half with 3 consecutive 75-yard drive. Well, 75-yard drive, an 81-yard drive, and a 75-yard drive that all ended in touchdowns. Bang, bang, bang against the Dallas defense that somehow ended up staying out on the field, I think, a little bit too long there, leading into the fourth quarter before they were able to make a stop.
Oh, yeah. And, the other thing is, the Vikings really play the way the old school Cowboys used to play under Jason Garrett. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we are committed to running the ball, and we don't care if it's not working because eventually it will work. We're going to wear you down, and then in the second half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, you're not going to be able to handle Zeke. He's just going to run through you, pop you a big one, and end up with 150 yards. Mm-hmm. That's the way Minnesota plays. But today, when they did that, and I thought they were on a roll, man, and they were making plays, and they were dominating the second half with Dalvin Cook. He had 100 yards in the second half, bro. But ultimately, what did we just tell you? The game is about making plays at winning time. And here's all that you really need to know, man, is the Cowboys. Let me ask you this, because it's part of this conversation, because I tweeted it out. 5:45 left. The Cowboys have to punt. I was not convinced they were getting the ball back.
I didn't think they were going to, just based on what we had seen the previous 3 drives from Minnesota.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, right. I was like, man, I mean, they can't give up more than a field goal. And based on what I've seen, I don't even know how they're going to do that. But that's what happened. That's what I mean when I say it's about making plays at winning time. Because what happened? As soon as they did that and Minnesota went up, they got the ball back. They got them 4 and out. And it started because, I don't know about you, I'm like, man, they finna put Dalvin Cook on them. And instead, they threw that pass on first down.
Yeah.
And they got 12 yards. And I said, well, damn, now they're really going to put it on them.
Right.
But what happened is they stopped Cook for no gain. And then I think Tank Lawrence had a big play and knocked the pass down or something. And all of a sudden, it was 3rd and 10, and they got off the field. Jordan Lewis with some tight coverage on Adam Thielen, I think, on 3rd down. And so all of a sudden, they got the ball back. And then they scored, and then when Minnesota got the ball back, they couldn't even get a first down, man. At winning time, they had back-to-back drives to win the game.
Yeah, and it was interesting because we saw Alden Smith had some nice plays. Tank was once again, this is like the 3rd or 4th game in a row where you really noticed him, not just in getting some pressures, but also with what he can do in the run game, which I know drives people crazy, but it is a part of what he is so good at doing. You know, Leighton Vander Esch had that crazy stop at the goal line. I mean, they ended up scoring, I think, on the next play. But then Donovan Wilson. I mean, Donovan Wilson, who a couple of years ago, we're out at camp, and this dude is just making plays left and right defensively. And everybody is like, holy cow. I mean, wow, they have got a guy who can take the ball away in the secondary. And then you don't really see anything from him. And Donovan Wilson's been playing. I mean, he's been getting defensive snaps this season. But for whatever reason today, he showed up in a big way, had a couple of big hits, had the Kirk Cousins where he got half sack credit and was able to rip the ball away from Cousins and secure that for the fumble recovery. And then, of course, had the hit on Dalvin Cook where he rocked Dalvin Cook and popped the ball right on out, and the Cowboys recovered that fumble.
Well, I got to tell you, man, the things you hear about Donovan Wilson is this. Well, he's not really what you want as a starting corner, as a starting safety. Okay, and I understand it. You know, he doesn't always get the right reads. He doesn't always get the right jump on the play, on the ball. And I get that. But check this out, man. And he's certainly, now this is what you hear from people in the Cowboys organization. He's certainly not the kind of guy who you would expect to be a starter on a championship team. All of that may be very well and good. If none of the other safeties on your team can play, and they can't, outside of Xavier Woods, and we haven't seen him in a few weeks.
Right.
Can you at least go get somebody who can make some plays? Like, it's okay. I mean, if you're going to give up some, and the rest of them are giving up plays. I mean, Darian Thompson was giving up plays left and right. Can you go get somebody who, I'm going to give you some, but then I'm going to make some. I can live with that, man. That's why Jeff Heath, never bothered me as much as he bothered some people. Yes, Jeff Heath gave up some plays. Yes, Jeff Heath would go make a play or two here and there. I can live with that. And so Donovan Wilson, and it's not just today. He showed up. He had that fumble against, he forced that fumble, I think it was against the Eagles with Carson Wentz. He had another play where he almost forced a fumble, or he made a big play and Jalen Smith messed it up with a penalty.
Right.
So he's been around the ball. He's been active. And frankly, bro, that's all I ask.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. And he had a great game today. I mean, a phenomenal game today. All in all, it's interesting because, like I said, it felt like the tale of two halves where they were so solid in the first half. But then you look at the way everything ends up. They got to stop when they needed it. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for them. They still gave up 28 points. They made Kirk Cousins look like we were talking about this earlier, he almost had a perfect passer rating. The Vikings were 6 of 10 on third down conversions today. They had 430 total yards at 7 yards per play, and Dalvin Cook ended up not hitting his average, but still ran for well over 100 yards as he had some big runs in the second half. Cowboys gave up several big, deep plays with the 51-yarder to Thielen, the 39-yard touchdown to Jefferson. Jefferson had another one like 26 yards or whatever it was.
There was a total of six plays of more than 20 yards.
So all in all, that's why I say I don't know what to make of it on the whole, because the Vikings did find success and were able to get some points. But as we just mentioned, they also had a couple of takeaways. And when you absolutely had to have a stop, your defense got to stop.
And I think that's what the game's about, man. The game is about, can you get some turnovers? And they did. And can you make some plays when you got to make them? And they did. And it's no more, no less than that. The offenses in the NFL are too good for you to be talking about shutouts and shutdowns unless you got a bunch of elite players on defense, which this team does not. So now it's about, can you make some plays, bro, when they present it to you? And they did. And that's why they won today. That's something they can build on. They're playing better. Now, they were the worst in the league for about 6 weeks. So, we could be talking about the skinniest fat guy. But they're playing better. You cannot deny that. The question is, can they keep getting better? And if they can, perhaps they'll be in position to win some more games.
Yeah, and with what we saw from the Vikings, because they have Thielen and Jefferson and Kyle Rudolph, who gets overlooked, and they have Dalvin Cook, when you play a team like Washington on Thursday on Thanksgiving Day, you're looking at Alex Smith, who I think today he threw his first touchdown pass in like 2 years or whatever it was. Antonio Gibson, their rookie second-round pick, as I recall, out of Memphis, had a nice game today. He had 16 for 94 and a touchdown. But we know this because we've seen Washington before. If you don't make mistakes offensively, which was nice to see that the Cowboys only had the one turnover today offensively, Washington does not have an offense that scares you. Washington doesn't have the weapons that Minnesota has. And if the defense, and it feels like they're getting more comfortable and more confidence in the scheme Nolan is introducing to them,
right? You
kind of look at teams, at least I do, like Washington, and say, okay, what does Washington have that scares you? Because I was horrified of Dalvin Cook coming in.
No, I get that. I think for me, the answer is nothing, really. The answer is if you will protect the ball and not give them short fields and turnovers, I challenge Washington to score more than 17 points.
Right.
And so now it's about, can your offense produce 17 points? Can your special teams chip in? Well, however, can you get to 21 or 24? Like, if you get to 24, I don't think Washington can beat you. The question is, can you get to 24? Because you only got to 3, I think, the first time you played them.
Right. And look, it is encouraging to get another couple of takeaways. They didn't have any against Pittsburgh after having 4 against Philadelphia. But still, when you look at it, it's 6 in the last 3 games. Now, it would be nice if at some point this year, the Cowboys have turned the ball over in every single game except for the season opener against Los Angeles.
Yeah, bro. They averaged just about 2 a game. Clockwork.
It's so wild. And we'll see. But
well, see, you say that, man. Andy Dalton is the guy who throws interceptions.
I know he is, and I expect nothing less against a front. Now, I do think if this is going to be the offensive line that they're going to roll with, I like that a little bit better than we did the last time they played Washington. But that being said, we all know what the Washington defense is capable of doing, of getting pressure, doing it with 4, taking the ball away from you. We'll see what happens, but I actually feel better now about playing Washington than I did the first time around when Washington won 25-3. And I didn't think there was any hope that they would win that game. I think they have hope now.
Oh, no. I mean, I think it's a game they can win. Their offensive line is better with Zach Martin at right tackle and McGovern at right guard than it was with Terrence Steele out there. Here's the other thing, and we'll get into it more probably on Wednesday's podcast. If there's ever going to be a game where you're ready to play, it'll be the game where the other team knocked out your quarterback and everybody spent the week calling you a bunch of 5-letter cuss words because you didn't stand up for him and he's back in the saddle.
That's true.
If there's ever going to be a game where you come out amped up with something to prove that you're not a bunch of 5-letter cuss words and a bunch of cowards, it'll be this week.
So the good news is the Cowboys have snapped their 4-game losing streak. They beat Minnesota. We'll see if they can do it again against Washington on Thursday. But before we get into, I know you guys have been waiting for it, secret audio of a Cowboys Homer. We have to tell you about another one of our sponsors, our good friends, Jason and Deidre, the local family-owned shop, Beer Geeks, right there in downtown Rockwall. Beer Geek Shop is a fantastic place. And I know this is a weird week for a lot of people. Some people have to work pretty much every day but Thanksgiving. Some people are off all week. Maybe you're even going to try and travel and drive around and see some family. Who knows? But if you get a chance, and I always tell people this, maybe you love your family and you want to hang out with them and drink beers. Maybe you hate them and you need beers to tolerate them. Whatever it is, Beer Geek Shop has you covered for your Thanksgiving, all right? So get on out there. It's downtown Rockwall, right off the square. And right now, we've been telling you about this. This is funny because somebody on our Instagram made a comment because I had posted a picture of this. The Jam Session 6-pack that they have right now discounted for $22.50. And somebody made a comment like, wow, that seems crazy for craft beer. I was like, it is crazy for craft beer. 6 beers of this quality, that 3 that I picked, 3 that Jacques picked, she's got them on sale for $22.50. Seriously, like you just don't see things like this in the craft beer world. This is a crazy good deal. So swing by Beer Geek Shop and pick up your Jam Session 6-pack, or pick up some coffee stouts or some hazy IPAs or some sours or whatever it is that you're into. Beer Geeks will have you covered there in downtown Rockwall. But let's get ready for this. And I have to tell you, I always think it's interesting when I'm going to watch the Cowboys game because I was not excited about this game this week. I thought the Cowboys were going to get their ass kicked. I thought Dalvin Cook would run all over them. The guy that I was playing in fantasy football this week has Dalvin Cook. And so I just didn't have a lot of excitement for it. And I got to tell you, for the most part, I felt like the first half was kind of boring.
I don't know if boring was it.
Yeah, boring's the wrong word, but just kind of a monotonous ho-hum type football game. Because in the second half was when you saw these lead changes and these crazy scores, and the Vikings would score and the Cowboys would match them.
I was going to say, my final thought was, and I think I tweeted this out, is that was a very entertaining NFL game.
Overall, yeah, I thought for sure it was fantastic. But let's start here. And this first cut is going to be the Zeke touchdown early on in the game, which gave the Cowboys a stunning 7-0 first quarter lead.
That's just pretty impressive. If they can score here, there it is. Touchdown, easy, nice. Got in, big lead. Gosh, big to get points off of that turnover, too. Excellent.
Yeah, see, and that's just real quick, and I go big lead because I was like 7-0 in the first quarter.
Yes, and then they got the extra point blocked.
I know.
And that's when I was like, man, these boys would mess up a wet dream. And
wow, that's a great analogy.
I mean, they just would, man. And I was less like, you can't even score and just complete the job by getting, everything is so difficult. Nothing is ever just, easy the way it's supposed to be. And I was a little frustrated by that, man.
I can hear it.
I got to tell you, I was.
So we go from that. And again, those of you that might not be familiar with what we're doing here, this is the secret recordings of me while I'm watching the Cowboy game. And I grew up I'm a lifelong Cowboys fan. As far back as I can remember, my family has watched the Cowboys games on Sundays and Thursdays and Mondays and whatnot. And so this is my reactions to that. And this next cut here is the first Dalvin Cook touchdown that kind of answered what the Cowboys were doing.
Oh, he stopped him. Ran into a wall. Yeah, he just stuck him. Yeah, that was awesome. Watch this. He says, "You're not getting past me, dog." And then there's Jalen Smith is like the third guy in on it. Acts like he did something. Got in. Second effort got in. Oh, well. God, man, Dalvin Cook is a beast.
Yeah, because that was the play I was talking about where Leighton Vander Esch just fills the hole, and Dalvin Cook, you kind of expect Dalvin Cook runs over a lot of guys, and Leighton just got underneath them and just, no. I mean, like running into a wall, Dalvin Cook just stopped, and then, of course, got in on the next play to give the Vikings what was a 7-6 lead at the time.
Dude, matter of fact, I took a 10-second video of that play, and I sent it to my dude, and I said, "I don't know if you're watching the game, bro. This is how you fill a hole if you're a linebacker."
All right, so we go from that one to, this is the Andy Dalton interception where Kendricks just makes an unbelievable pick here. Here's my reaction when this happened.
God, what a f***ing pick. Holy shit, I can't believe that dude picked that. God, man, did you see that? God, what a catch. Look at this. Watch this guy just right over the middle. Whoop. Not for you, for me. Damn, that was good.
I'm talking to my lady friend. She's she's sitting on the couch with me.
Well, I wasn't sure, man. I'm like, let's be real. You could really be talking to yourself.
It's true, I could be. It's very true. But yeah, no, because when I say, watch this, look at this right here, I'm like pointing, I was like, because she doesn't really pay attention half the time. So
right.
She'll be on her phone or whatever, and I'm like, look at that. Like, that's crazy, right? Speaking of which, another crazy occurrence in this game, and this is the CeeDee Lamb touchdown catch that I'm sure blew everybody's mind. Here is my mind as it happened getting blown.
Oh, what a catch. Holy shit, he caught that. Holy shit, what a catch. Wow, look at this. Wow. That's incredible. What a catch.
It was.
I mean, there was no other words for it, bro.
I know. I can't believe he caught that ball.
I'm telling you, when the pass was released, I was like, there's no way. Like, what are you doing, man? Where are you throwing this damn thing? And then he caught it, and I was like, oh, snap.
Yep.
This is incredible.
Absolutely amazing. And so we'll go from that to, this is Michael Gallup with the drop that I thought he was going to catch on a third down, and then it parlays into them trying to go for it on fourth down. So here's the sequence of events.
Uh-oh. Caught. Oh, he dropped it. Damn it. God, I thought he had that. Couldn't pull it in. Obviously, you're going to go for it. You're too far for a field goal. You're too close for a punt. Might as well go for it. Your defense has played well enough. Nothing. Horrible pass. God, that's a horrible pass. Threw it behind him.
Was it a
Can't
horrible
do that,
pass?
friend.
It was.
For a friend.
It was a horrible pass. I did not like that was the fourth down call.
What didn't you like about it?
Sometimes, and I know that I probably get a little too wild on this, but sometimes, like we saw it on the 2-point conversion, which maybe I've got coming up. Yeah, we do. But I feel like Kellen Moore has these really cool plays that work. And sometimes in like situations like that, I wonder why he, instead of just like a normal play we've seen, why not do something that is a little bit more that nobody has seen? I don't know. It's hard. Maybe I'm not saying it the right way.
Yeah, no, I mean, it can run both ways. I mean, that's why, typically I just try to, because when it doesn't work, it's easy to second guess it.
Right.
The question is, was it a good play? Not whether it worked or not.
Well,
I know it sounds kind of crazy, but.
And anytime it's fourth and short, I still go back to the idea that, even Jerry said this week, Zeke's our best player. You're paying that dude a ton of money. I know the defense is probably, in a lot of those instances, expecting that you're going to run Zeke, but you pay him for a reason, I feel like sometimes. Right. So we'll go from that one to, this is the Donovan Wilson hit on Dalvin Cook.
Oh, he got jacked. God, look at Jalen run. Look at Jalen run. Oh, shit. I mean, Donovan Wilson killed that guy. Look, he's dead on the field. Look at him. God, I mean, that was bang, bang. I don't know if that's a catch or not. That's a catch. Yeah, that's a fumble. He got jacked. God, he got rocked. Look at that. And then Tank was smart enough to give it to Jalen. God, look at that. Dalvin Cook may be out for the game. Might have broke his ribs. He did not like that.
Obviously, it turned out that none of that was the truth, but I did think that was interesting. I couldn't tell if Tank gave Jalen the ball or Jalen just went and took it from him.
It was a little bit of both. He took it. Now, maybe Tank was giving it to him because he was trying to score. I mean, they was trying to get points. But Jalen was definitely trying to snatch it.
So we'll go from there to, this is Minnesota taking the lead to go up 21-16 here.
Oh, exciting. Dalvin Cook. Oh, that's not Cook. That's Madison. Yeah, this game, I mean, they're about to take control of this game right here. Grip it by the throat. Just easy. Easy. And there it is. They've got the lead, and that's probably the game.
Well, damn.
Look, I didn't have a lot of confidence in this team, obviously, going into this game. And then once it became, keep in mind, Dallas was up at one point, 16-7. And then Minnesota comes back in it. And I'm just like, okay, I've seen this before. Here we go. It's happening again, obviously.
They can give you that here we go again feeling, man. It's understandable. It's definitely understandable. When you've suffered the way Cowboys fans have suffered this year, it's okay to feel like that, man.
So I think this next one should be the Pollard. Yeah, this should be the Pollard running 2-point conversion.
Wide open, Justin Jefferson touchdown.
No.
Wide open, easy. And just like that, right down the field, they've scored on 3 straight drives in the second half. Jeez, man. God, he went right by Anthony Brown. Went right by him like he wasn't even on the field. Cool.
All right, so obviously that was a Jefferson touchdown that happened after the Pollard run. I hit the wrong one, but whatever. You guys understand what's happening.
Yeah, not good, and you're pissed.
I was pissed. It was unfortunate, but let's go back in time because here is the Pollard run and the 2-point conversion, which at the time would give the Cowboys the lead before the Jefferson touchdown pass that you just heard.
Well, there goes Tony Pollard. He's gone. He's going to score. Easy. Touchdown. Nice. That was awesome. Yeah, like he got shot out of a cannon. God, man, he just went. Watch this. Watch this. He goes right through these guys. Then he's gone. Oh, wow, yeah, that cornerback was just kind of like ho-hum. 42 yards. All right. Very nice. Oh, what a play. What a cool play. That was awesome. Yeah, they had to have that one. Sweet.
Yeah, I liked that 2-point conversion play. I thought that was really cool.
Well, Kellen Moore has really done a fantastic job lately of coming out with some really creative 2-point plays. That's about 4 or 5 in a row. Because Cowboys had a stretch for a long time where their 2-point plays were just trash.
Yeah, they were.
And again, it's not all the fact that they didn't work all the time. It's just that, really, that's the best you can do? Everybody knows on a 2-point play, you kind of come with, it's not a gadget play all the time, but it's something that you don't see all the time. It's a little different look. It's something that gives us just a little bit of a false step so we can score this 2 points.
Right.
And, man, his last 4 or 5 have been outstanding. And, again, this is what we're talking about. It's not like this is a play that we've never seen before because I've seen the Cowboys run this play before. I just hadn't seen them run it any time lately. And it's a great play down there because nobody's expected it.
Yeah, very true. And it worked very nicely. So at the time, it gave Dallas the 24-21 lead. And then, of course, I played you my pissed off reaction to the Justin, which is crazy because Jefferson's on my fantasy team, but I was irritated that it was so easy. And that had given the Vikings the 28-24 lead. And that gave Dallas an opportunity to perhaps score, to take a lead. Here is that one.
1st and goal from the 4. You got to think they're going to get this in here. Come on, man. Oh, my God. Oh, God, I thought he threw a pick. Wow. Wow. Oh, nice play. Touchdown. Nice play. There it is. Yeah, nobody went with him. He's wide open. Dallas takes the lead.
Yeah, and that was cool, too, because that was another one of those plays where they had sent Lamb in motion, and for whatever reason, the linebacker, Harrison Smith, came up with, I don't know who the linebacker was, and they both went with Lamb, and Schultz was just, nobody went with them, and he was wide open on that play.
Yeah, but that play served them well later. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
I'm convinced that play right there, that's the play where Amari Cooper got open later in the game for the big catch to the 1 yard line. I think they just put Amari in Dalton Schultz's spot, Dalton where CeeDee was, and they ran the same play, the quick out, because they jumped it so hard the first time. And they ran, I'm convinced they ran it the same play because they saw how wide open Dalton was.
It could very well be. But there it was, and that, of course, the score that gave the Cowboys a 31-28 final score. And that was it for the cuts. And then, of course, as always, you guys like to hear my random things that come out of my mouth.
Oh, that's the best.
So, well, we'll see. We'll see this week's random audio of me while watching the Cowboys game. Here it is.
I mean, the late night happy hours are badass, but you're not having a date night at Applebee's. Rum bum baby, dum ba da ba dee ba dee. Oh 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 oh. It's a big one. It reads your fingerprint. That's so cool. Yeah, in 1987, that was cool. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Your heart is made of gold. I'm telling you, Pizza Hut's got to be, at this point, behind Domino's and Papa John's. What else is there?
So that's it. Not a lot today, but
dude,
I seen more than
you really think Pizza Hut's behind? See, I think Papa John's just got a lot more hype. I think Pizza Hut is still there.
Yeah, it could be. We actually had a whole conversation about this, and it was funny because what happened a couple of years ago, this is probably about 4 years ago now, we had ordered a Pizza Hut pizza. It took 2 hours to get it.
Really?
I had called the store, and they're like, well, we don't know. Our driver is out. And I was like, well, we haven't got it. This is ridiculous. I was like, at this point, I don't even want the pizza. I don't want it. I just want to get refunded. And it became this big ordeal, and they didn't reimburse us. They didn't offer us anything. And so the guy shows up at our door. He's like, yeah, sorry about that. The pizza was cold. I don't know what the driver was doing or what happened. And the fact that the store didn't care at all, I will never order Pizza Hut again.
All right, well, let's go through the top 7 pizza chains.
See, this is interesting. Like, to me, Domino's is our go-to for that type.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about like Zalat or the higher level
gourmet kind
right.
of pizza. You're talking about I'd like some pizza.
I'm talking about like the Domino's of the world.
All right, Domino's is number 1. Who's
Yes.
number 2?
I don't know that I have a number 2. It may
who's
be
number 2 in terms of chains?
I don't know. Papa
Largest
John's,
pizza chains.
Pizza Hut, Marco's.
Pizza Hut is number 2. Papa John's is number 3.
Something called like Jet's Pizza that's around here.
Nah. Little Caesars is number 4.
God, what? Who eats Little Caesars? All they do is pepperoni and cheese.
Hey, man, management used to eat Little Caesars all the time. That's our former producer, Alan Fall. Papa Murphy's is number 5. I was shocked that Marco's is number 6.
Marco's is good. They have a few of those around here.
Well, this is why I'm shocked, because they just showed up in Texas like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Because we did some endorsements for them, or went and did some shows from there a couple of years ago. And I was like, I had never even heard of them, and here they are, huge on the chain, followed by California Pizza, CC's, Sbarro, Blaze Pizza.
Sbarro is still a thing? I didn't know that. That's the pizza place in the mall, and I didn't know malls were still a thing.
No, Blaze Pizza, LeBron James owns a bunch of them. MOD Pizza, which I've never heard of.
I've never heard of Blaze or MOD.
And then Jet Pizza, which is yours. I just Googled that, the 10 largest pizza chains in America, because, hey, this is our podcast, and this is what we do.
I like that, though. I wonder about that, because I've never had a few of those. And Domino's is what if we're not going to spend a little extra on a pizza, because there's the Italian Cafe in Las Colinas makes phenomenal pizza, but it costs, by the time you get it and everything, it's like $25 for a pizza, and you can get 2 mediums for $5.99 each at Domino's.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
But that's a single topping pizza. Who wants that?
I know, but still. No, it's 2. You can get 2 toppings on it. For 3 toppings, you can get $7.99 for mediums.
Oh.
Yeah, it's different ways to do it. It's interesting. All the different pizzas that are out there, but for delivery, Domino's tends to be with what we go with for whatever reason. I think it's because once they changed a couple of years ago and redid the crust and all that, big fan.
I was going to say, I have no idea about the crust redo. Was that a big deal?
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah.
Okay.
They changed up the seasonings that they use with the crust, and ever since they did that a couple of years back, and they redid everything, basically, like their marketing and the way that they presented themselves, and they've done a really good job of that, because for a while...
They did a whole rebrand.
Yeah, for a while, it was just kind of blah. What they need to do is bring back the Noid. Remember that little claymation guy from the 80s?
No.
That dude was awesome. Yeah, so there you have it. All of it in one. Secret audio of a Cowboys Homer and a bonus. Now you know the 10 largest pizza chains in America.
Hey, man, we're a full-service podcast.
Which is fantastic. But that is it for us. Be looking forward to some of the podcasts coming out this week. We will have one for you that drops on Wednesday morning, getting you ready for the Thanksgiving Day game as 2 teams, Washington and Dallas, will battle at least for a couple of days for first place in the NFC East on Thursday. That's a 3:30 kick, I believe, obviously from AT&T Stadium, as they will welcome in Washington. We'll have that for you. Thanks for listening to the Jam Session Podcast. Find us on Instagram at Jam Session Cast. We're also available on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe there by searching Jam Session Podcast. And of course, on Twitter at McMattRadio at JJT_journalist. Thanks to Purple Elephant Music for the music you hear at the end and beginning of each episode. He is the radio and TV star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor. And I'm just a guy, Matt McLaren. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review to the podcast. Tell your friends if you enjoy what we do. Help us spread it to your friends as we continue to build this with all of you. And we'll catch you next time on the Jam Session Podcast, available everywhere you listen to podcasts.